In this video, we will learn how to access our models to the Rails console. In order to create new records in the database, I'm going to show you two different techniques. In the first technique, I refer to as new save. There are three steps to it. The first is that we instantiate an object. Instantiate means to create a new object from the class. This object is also called an instance of the class. That's where we get the word instantiate. We are creating an instance of this class, so once we instantiate the object, then we are going to set the values or on the attributes for that object, and then we are going to save the object. So it's a three-step process: instantiate, set the values, and then save. The second technique that we are going to look at is going to be create. Create is going to do the exact same work as new save, but it's going to do it all in one step. It's going to instantiate the object, set its value, and save it in one single step. So let's try both, starting out with the new save first. So here let's go to the terminal and root of your app directory to create a record in table. Now we need to start the Rails console first of all. So here I'm going to type Rails and console. So I'll be inside my Rails console after that. Now next thing would be to make a connection to the model subject. So that will be going like student and dot connection. So student dot connection. Now after the connection, here it is, you can see. Let me check the fields of the student by simply typing student here. So as I type student, you can see all the fields are mentioned here. There is an ID. Now this ID will be automatically generated by Rails. Next is the name, which is a string. Next is roll number, again an integer. City, a string. Phone number, integer. Fine. Now the next step is you need to instantiate the object. So for instantiating the object, I'm going to write here students equal student dot new. So this is my first step. And here be careful, your S has to be capital since I mentioned it capital in the first place. So you hit return. So this is done here. Now the next step is to set the values. So for setting the values, you need to write students dot name is the first thing that I want to set. So name is Ronak, and here it is Ronak. Next thing is to save it. So that is the third step, that is students dot save. So here it is done. Now if you just type here students, which is the object, it will return. You can see it has returned the value. ID is 1, name is Ronak, roll number is still nil, city nil, phone number is nil, right? So this has been all done here. You can see if I stretch this apart, all the fields are visible right here. Alright, now let's try out the second way. So in the second way, it is to insert the record. So for doing that, I'm going to write here students equals student dot new, and then here defining a name. Say for example, the value of name that I want to have is Nisha, then is roll number, then giving the value for roll number, say for example is 2, then next field is a city, and here do not forget your colon since you don't want the value to be changed every time in order to save your memory as we did earlier. So say for example city is Noida, and lastly is your phone number, and here any phone number. Here, this is done. Now the next thing is you need to do is you need to save, that is students dot save, and it has been saved. Now to return it, just need to type students and your values will be returned. So here you can see ID is 2, name is Nisha, roll number 2, city Noida, phone number, and the timestamp for when it was created, and for the update one is right here. So now if you want to check, so we'll apply an if statement to check whether the record is saved or not. So for doing that, I'm going to type here if students .save, then I want it to print here Then I want it to print as saved, and else I want it to print as not saved. Now as soon as I'll put an end here, it will return. So see, it says saved because my value was saved, right? So this is done here. Now the second method was the create method. So create method is a bit simpler one because you don't need to follow those 3 steps. You can do it in just the single step, that is students equals student dot create, and then within the create you need to mention, say for example, name, and for the name field you can put some value here, say for example Radhika. Then she has some roll number, so let's provide a roll number to her. Say for example roll number is 3. Then city again here, city is, let's take Noida again, and finally the last one, that is phone number. Any phone number. So here hit return. Now you see this huge error arises here. Now what is the error? You can see it says that the phone number was out of range. It says integer with limit 4, right? Now if you want to change the limit, you can go back into the code and you can change the limit there when you were defining the table at that point of time. So for now let's just change this limit, and here I'm going to just delete a few initials from here, and if I hit return, you see it has been done. Now the next step was just to check my entries, so I can type students and here I can get back my entries done, right? So this was these were the 2 methods for creating the records.